look at where you're limiting yourself and your success, because I know that the ceiling that you've created is self-imposed. It's not really true. More is coming. You get to have it all.
Welcome to Working Women Mentor, a podcast where you will find a mentor moment in every episode. We are meeting incredible women from around the world with real stories and learning from the moment that changed it all for them. I'm your host, Rainey Alfers, and I'm ready to introduce you to our next guest. Hey everyone, welcome back to Working Women Mentor. I'm so excited to introduce you to Shamina Taylor. Shamina is an attorney turned wealth expert, business mentor. She's an author, she's a speaker, she is a high achieving lady, and she's helping everyone she meets level up in their personal life and teaches them how to be unapologetically rich, and not just rich with money, by the way. So those are wonderful things, but Shamina has so much more to offer than just the value of the dollar. With over 20 years of experience and working with some of the top industry leaders, if you have not seen her on Elena Cardone's podcast, the 2 Comma Club, all over TikTok, Instagram, you're missing out. She just released her first book. I've just finished it. It's incredible. It's blowing up all over Amazon. And just that alone, which we would have linked in the show, is enough to get started. So let's jump in, meet Shamina. And hey, if you haven't had a chance yet this season to leave us a review, I would be so thankful. This is so helpful with spreading the word. And as Shamina would say, living and giving in abundance. That's what we're doing here today. And we would so appreciate just a moment of your time to leave a review after this episode. Thanks again. See you inside. Shamina Taylor, I'm Rainey Alfers. Welcome to Working Women Mentor. Thanks for being here. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I am fabulous today.
Good. Fabulous is what we're always striving for, I believe. Shamina, would you introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Hi, my name is Shamina Taylor. I am a wealth expert. I'm also a business mentor, a former attorney, an author, a speaker, and I help you become unapologetically rich with the wealth that you want to create in this world.
Unapologetically rich. I cannot wait to tap into this and hear about it. So, everyone who knows you, we asked you to do an exercise and see if your friends would shoot you a text over, and how would they describe you since we're just meeting you today?
Someone who does what she says she's going to do, someone who doesn't give up, somebody who is got a big heart. And I also want to see everybody win. I'm a woman in abundance, and I'm probably going to be one of your biggest cheerleaders. And I have probably more faith in other people and the outcomes of what can happen in the world. And I feel like more people need to just dip into that so they can have it too.
It seems like you've got this huge reservoir in there, just waiting for someone to just dip in and tap your energy. So I love the sound of that. It's incredibly positive. So you went from being an attorney to now being this wealth expert and so many other things, but it's a major career shift. Share with us how that happened and what sparked it.
It is an incredible story, actually, and some of your listeners actually might resonate with it. I used to be an attorney, and it was a profession that I actually absolutely adored, and I was great at it. There was a moment when I was on a yoga mat, and I'll just bring you back to 2013, and we'll do it really quickly. But it's a moment that many of you have had that aha moment where you're like, I can't unsee what I've saw right now. And for me, I had just finished a bodybuilding competition. I was really big into figure competitions and body because I didn't know how to change the inside. I'm highly competitive, high performer. I like to be the best at everything. I'm sure some of you can relate to that. And I wanted to push myself to see how well I can do outside. Well, on this particular day, January 2013, I went to do a yoga class. It was my third time. And as I walked into the yoga studio, I was going to win yoga because that's what you do at yoga. No, it's not what you do.
Everyone's walking into win yoga. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
no.
Yeah,
And
no.
but in the end, I did become a winner from the event. But at that day, my girlfriend, who was also competing with me, she was running the class. And so we went into the positions, and there's a cameraman there. And I remember going to the cameraman saying, "Hey, don't pan on me too much." But basically what I was telling him to, hey, make sure you look at me because I really wanted to be on TV because she was being featured on a news segment. And so that's why we were doing the yoga. And otherwise you wouldn't catch me in there at that time. Now, as 15 minutes into the class, I figured we'd done maybe 100 dog downs at this point. I was really annoyed with her because I felt like she was showing off and it was excessive. But either way, she said, put one leg one way, put another leg the next way. And I'm, again, really competitive. So I took that little quirky thing and I held on to it and put my legs in the position. As I was doing that, something came over me that was going to change my life. And I'm pushing through this position and I'm feeling the physical pain. And this physical pain was just increasing. And as she was talking and asking us, are we happy? Do we love our lives? I was just thinking that moment, I have everything. And yet I'm so empty and unhappy inside. I don't know what was missing. My exact words were, who the F is Shamina, is what I was saying to myself because I had felt like I'd lost my identity. I had two small kids at the time, was married. I had everything you were supposed to have on the checklist. But in that moment, it felt like there was still something greatly missing in my life. As we proceeded, this physical pain turned into something that was unbearable and I started crying. And as I started crying, this pain turned into emotional pain. And for the first time in a long time, probably decades, I just let loose and I had this powerful release and I just started crying and having the ugliest cry of my life, stayed in this position until the end of the class.
Is the camera still running, Shamina?
Everything is running. I'm the only one not moving in the class, and everybody thought I was laughing at first, and then they came up to me and they were rubbing my back because they realized I had a massive release. And as I pulled my head up and I had snot everywhere, I was like, "Okay, something has to change in my life. I can't unsee what I just saw." I had years of pushing down emotions into myself. I was like an ice queen. If I didn't feel it, I felt like it wasn't affecting me. But really what I realized was a lot of unhealed trauma that I had in my life. It had just bubbled to the surface because it was finally time to let it go. And I thought if I just didn't feel it and I kept busy and I kept doing because that's what high performer, high achieving women do. We work from the places to keep doing and we also seek validation. So we don't stop to actually be present in our human. And that's what happened to me that day. Changed the trajectory of my life because after that, my ex-husband now, he ended up moving out. We ended up getting divorced. I also went on a very deep spiritual journey where I tried to figure out what went wrong in my life that I was in that moment. My marriage ending was a side product of what I brought into the marriage and who I was. So I started a healing journey, which was crazy because I was a lawyer that didn't even know anything existed. And all of a sudden now I was open to a whole new way of doing life. And I spent 3.5 years in monk mode working on healing myself. I did every single healing modality there was, and I was still so stubborn. And so I created my own, which now I've had thousands and thousands of women go through it. And it literally changed because I know who she is. And as I was doing it, I wanted to be rich at the same time because I knew if I had money, I could do a lot of great things like write a book, which I've done, hire people, do the things I wanted to do, and also experience a first class life. So then I applied what I learned to money because money and our emotions are so tied together. I increased my wealth and my personal consciousness, but then I applied it to wealth consciousness. And then I saw that the two wasn't so different because most of our money things are tied up in our emotions. And once I became the master of my emotions, everything changed in my life.
To have the breakthrough, right? To have the eruption and then to be able to channel that. So I'm wondering what these daily habits were that you started to form during that time, because clearly you realized there has to be a change and you created your own method. And I'm assuming that had something to do with this. But what did you find yourself doing every day that was different?
So, first order of business, I had to find where I was stuck emotionally. What was it? I had a lot of trauma growing up as a child and I had an abusive father. He was a narcissist. And I didn't know any different. I thought everybody did. And so I had to really go into creating a shield around my heart so that I could not feel and get to be a high performer so I could just keep going. So, what I realized was I needed to start finding some stillness and I had to find where my triggers were inside of me so I can find the places that needed healing. So I would document what things actually would make me feel an emotional response where I was reacting and not having the self-mastery to be like, okay, let's not give some of my power. Because honestly, I was in a very victim-y mindset. Although I could make money, I had so many, you could see on the outside the ups and downs with money because once you're in victim and lack mindset, I've seen people, friends of mine that have eight-figure earners that still have a victim mindset. So I started
Yes.
identifying because I'm a problem solver, right?
You're an analyst too, it sounds like. You run your own clinical study on yourself.
I did, and I have a pattern now that I can see in every woman. I can bring her right in front of me. I know that she has a issue with vulnerability, intimacy. She's a people pleaser, and she's a perfectionist. All of these things are scarcity mindset, which affect your money. But I also see, and she's a control freak, which I was. And I started identifying my behavioral patterns and why I was thinking and feeling a certain way. And honestly, I became a master journaler as well because I started taking accountability for my own life. And I stopped blaming other people, which I did have people in my life to blame because I was victimized at the time. The event happens, but what you do afterwards is what really changes the scope of who you are. And on my podcast, I do go in about my whole personal thing with my father because it was a long story. I'm not going to get into it here right now, but we have incidents in our lives that we make them more than what they are. And I realized that if I could start removing the past on a daily basis, I could create my future and my reality right now. So I saw as I healed something, whatever it was, I would start manifesting or creating that things. We live in our subconscious place that we don't even realize what's affecting us. And so awareness to me is like 99% of solving the problem, because once you know you have the issue, then you can do something about it. And most people are walking around right now like I was, and like many of my clients, not even realizing that they have a story that's going on that's affecting them daily, that's affecting their money, affecting their opportunities, affecting everything.
Yeah, that is so powerful. So, as you are walking around, you have this new method. What would you say to the women out there who feel like they haven't made the connection that you've made yet, and they have this pressure, self-induced, or their culture, or their community to do it all and to appear to make everything happen? And connecting that ambition with the self-compassion piece is something that's hard to do. What would you say to them?
I feel like you have to be a good steward of your own self and be in self-awareness. I think when you are so busy or you have such a busy schedule and your schedule runs you, you're not actually giving yourself time to reflect on the woman that you're becoming and who you're becoming and what you really want. One of the things that it shocks me the most, but not really shocking, is when I actually ask a woman, "What do you want?" She will sit there and list off the things that are goals that she thinks she's supposed to want, like you said, because society tells her she wants those things. But if I actually sit down and have her go through one of my systems and I get to the root of what she really truly desires, it's almost opposite of what she wants. But she doesn't go for it because she thinks it's not realistic, or she thinks that it doesn't make any sense. So why should I do it? So, first order of business, I get her into her emotions, into her heart, because most of the time, many of them are not emotional. They're not connected to who they're being. And when they can start feeling their emotions, I'll say, go look up the emotional wheel. Let's start practicing your emotions, because many of the times they know anger or they know sadness, but they don't know the in between. Because I do feel that feminine power is our superpower out in the world and how we create. And a lot of women have shut themselves off because they've been in that masculine, like I was, wounded masculine, doing all the time, thinking that if they do more, they'll be more successful. I always say money does not change you. Money does not change you. Success does not change you. You're just going to have more of it, but there'll always be that little hole that's missing, like that thing that it never feels like enough. So, being able to be really connected to who you are requires you to do a lot of self reflection. And I journal daily. When you ask me what my practices were, I set out what my declarations are daily of what I want. I've been doing it for years, what I want to create, but I also write down what I'm feeling. And being able to feel an emotion and be okay with it and it not control me anymore is the powerful thing. And I do gratitude every day, but I feel like being able to be in that state. And I always know when a woman is fully in abundance because she can cheer another woman on without any jealousy or without any comparison or anything. And believe it or not, it's very hard for a lot of women to get there.
It is. It is. It's one of the reasons I started this podcast, actually, just for other women to have that generosity and sharing, and a platform where you can come
Love
and
it.
receive it if that's what you're looking for. I think you've said so many wonderful things. I love the idea. You said I'm a master journaler. I haven't heard that before, but I like it because to journal and to write, you actually have to be able to describe your feelings. Like you said, that wheel where we don't really know the names of what we're feeling, or we brush it off, or we put it in a bigger category when it's unrelated to that category. So tapping into those small, and I want to say they're details, but they're really not. They're identifiers is such a beautiful, deep connection that we can all instantly make if we spend the time doing that. So we talk about wealth. What does wealth mean to you today, Shamina? I know it's changed over the years.
If you ask me today, wealth is looking at my children who are emotionally mastered, knowing that they can have anything in the world. I guess for me as a mother and a single mom, I've taught my kids how to express themselves emotionally, be okay with their emotions, and also know that there is no limit on the type of wealth that they can create. I have created generational wealth in my children from this. I've broken generational trauma. So I can give my kids money, but you cannot give your kids the understanding to love themselves in a way that they know to speak up for themselves. They also know how to create healthy relationships with their significant others. My children are 17 and 18, and they know that this age they're going to do amazing things in the world because they learned this at this age where I spent majority of my life trying to prove myself and not know I was worthy of love and feeling unworthy. So if you ask me today, that's wealth. I did take them on a 5-star vacation to Italy, like, to Europe this summer. We went all over, rented yachts, we had drivers, we flew first class there and back. That's amazing experience to give my children, but giving them what I just gave them. And wealth to me is not having money control my decision making. Like, money has zero control over me. If I wanna go do something, it's whether I decide to do it, not whether how much money I have. So that is a huge far cry from where I was before when my bank account was on life support after my divorce. So I feel like that's wealth. Wealth is being able to express myself unapologetically, being able to have and do what I want, and being okay with who I am as a human and loving myself for who I am. I'll tell you, I look at a lot of women in my industry that make $100 million a year, and they are suffering inside because they have not mastered their emotions. And to me, that money that they have, I feel richer than them because I know that I have this peace that I was searching for on that yoga mat. I have it within me, this fulfillment. That is wealth to me.
That's beautiful. When you're asking the thousands of women that you've worked with, what are you seeing as a general consensus to someone who would answer that question? When they come into you, what is wealth? Is it just pure cash, right? It's just dollars.
Money, and they'll say financial freedom, but they don't get it because a lot of women will make money, but they'll grind so hard and still hustle because they'll wanna make more. They don't even know how to enjoy their money. I just said it on a training earlier today that sometimes the women with the money are more broke than the women without because they don't know how to freely use their money.
That's probably hard for you to watch.
It is, but it's easy for me to fix within them.
There you go. Hard to watch, easy to identify and fix if they're open. So, fear of failure, then, that is a lot of what drives this piece that I want to do X, but oh, I might not succeed at that. Those limiting beliefs, what's holding us back. How can people take some first steps to really embrace failure? Some failures is a part of our growth. You said yourself, you had that change with your divorce, you had a bank account that looked different. How would you speak to these women?
Well, I have to be honest with you, not every woman is designed like me, but and so I'm just gonna say that, but I think fear of failure is the number one thing for most women that I work with, but fear of success is actually probably higher than fear of failure, to be quite honest with you. The thought of being out there, being seen fully in her power is probably the thing that most women can identify with, but they couldn't name it. They couldn't label it. But when I say it, they're like, that is me. They're afraid of their full potential because really, fear of failure, if you think about it, the women who are afraid of failure are the women who haven't actually gone out to do something. But the women that go out to do something and then they want to see how big they can go, they're the ones that have fear of success because what if it does work? And what if it stops working? That's what their problem is. They're wondering if I make $1 million this year, what if I don't do it next year? What's going to happen to me? Or if I make this successful thing right now, someone can come and take it away. This is where women want to block themselves from the disappointment because they felt such disappointment. They felt shame. They felt like, look, I'm the laughing stock. Or what would the reason be of failure? It doesn't work. Okay, so it doesn't work. You tried it. Try something else. I don't believe in something not working. I'm just working on it till it works. I don't use failure in my dialogue because if I did, that means I've failed a lot and I failed myself to success because if I look at something as being a failure, it means it's such a negative connotation and our words have such powerful meaning. So for me, I'm just working myself up to the exact goal that I want. And I'm holding the faith that it's always going to work out. I have no plan B. It's just going to work. So when I said I'm designed a little differently, I don't worry about things not working because they're not going to work. And if you have that in mind and you still are going to keep going with what you want, then you're going to have success. But just expect that things are not going to work. And what are you going to do about then? Are you equipped to have that mindset to keep picking up and keep going? Or are you going to quit? And some people quit.
What are you going to do about it? That is a very simple question, but it's really to the core of it. What are you going to do now? And it's more of an evolution, it sounds like, than black or white, than failed and it didn't, or failed and it worked. It's more of how it's going to evolve over time and how you're going to handle
Everything worked. That's how I look at
it.
it. If you have
Everything
a
works.
mindset of everything works, everything's always working out for me, everything works. I have a saying called it's happening. And I hold that because it really exercises my faith, not to let go of the possibility of something can happen. It's happening. And if I hold it, like the first year I made 1 million, I said, a year from now, it was on my birthday, it was June 11th, 2020. I thought everybody made 1 million when they came into this field because I was very new to this online space. And I said, a year from now, I'll become a millionaire. Well, a year from now, $1 million crossed my Stripe account. And everybody's like, how'd you do it? I just believed. I held the faith and I did the work in between. But I mean, you can't just click your heels together. It's how much faith are you going to allow yourself to feel? Because and if you get disappointed, are you going to just let that be the end of it? So manage your disappointment because it's going to be there. Just figure out how to work with it.
So, Shamina, mentorship. We're in a space where people are everywhere giving advice and online coaching and different aspects of where to get information from. What do you think people view mentorship as today? If you were to ask your women that you're working with, how would they view it? And are you seeing an evolution in women helping women?
I would say that mentorship is someone who's walked steps in front of you and then can get you there faster. I look at it as like a way to quantum leap your results. Personally, I've hired mentors that have got me results that I would have taken me years to figure out. And I'm very coachable. I do exactly what they tell me to do because that's why I hired them. And so I go and I take action, I implement. And one of my mentors, he also did all the stuff for Eckhart Tolle and Marion Williamson, bigwig guy. And they said, we want 100 more of you because I did what they said. Oh, it worked. So some of the things that I think about for mentorship is that if you're looking for a mentor to save you, you're looking for the wrong person. You need to work on your own self. But if you are a self accountable woman and you're a woman that takes action and you were like self accountable is so important because I work with a lot of women's victimness and I work with the lack and the victimness and the blame. And so it's a very fine line when I work with them because if something doesn't work, I'm here to blame. But if it does work, oh, she helped me. And so I've got to be really clear. My interview process of people coming to work with me is very simple, but it's also very effective because if she's not coachable, she's not willing to change. And if she said something didn't work before, I know that I'm not going to be that magic thing. So I think mentorship for me is probably the most paramount thing because you have somebody who can hold space to mirror back to you what you need. And I'm very intuitive. So it takes me just a couple minutes to find the story and pull it out, when I'm a high level mentorship in my masterminds. And it can be life changing for a woman. It can make her go from 100,000 to 400,000 a month. It can make her from a millionaire to multimillionaire, or it can bring her to be a millionaire. I think women who support other women are the most incredible thing. And I hold the faith sometimes for my clients until they can get there. Find somebody who is powerful enough and doing what you want and go work with them. And if you identify with them, they should challenge you to a point where you're getting a little bit triggered, but not to the point that you're constantly, your nervous system's dysregulated, but someone who's going to challenge you because then it means you're too comfortable.
Who were some of your mentors, Shamina? And is there one that stands out in your past or that helped you where you are today?
One of the one I was just talking about, Richard and Kylie, he just believed in me in a way that was just incredible, and so even to this day, we're still very close, and they're always rooting me on. They're like, "You said and did everything you were gonna do." This is a mentor from, like, 4 years ago, and you want your mentors to not just blow smoke up your butt, you know what I mean? You want them to be challenging you to go do something they know you have the capacity to do, and I do a lot of mindset work, and I do stuff in your business, but it's almost counterintuitive if I tell you how to go sell something, but you don't have the mindset to sell it the way that I know could be like 10xing it, then I need to get you into a place first where you're open to it, then take the action. And so for my mentors, though, this particular mentor, he was with marketing and whatnot. He was just like, go do this, go do that. And I did it. And I still use a lot of the tools today. Find somebody who has a track record that's proven. When I hire somebody, I look to see, did they help someone else and can they help me? It's really what people are looking for.
It's a two-way street, isn't it? It's usually never about what someone can do for you. It's really, if you're working with the right people, it should always be about both of you. And I'm interested to hear you said they make you feel supported, they cheer you on. What is it that they do that makes you feel that way? Like, how are you recognizing that support? I think a lot of people don't even recognize that someone may be trying to cheer them on.
Celebration is actually probably one of the hardest things for 99% of my particular client, high achieving and high performing women to do. Celebrating others, they probably can do a little easier than celebrating themselves because most of them feel like they should have already been at that next level of success already. So they don't know how to celebrate. So one of the things that when I hit a million, I'd come to them and they're like, "Congratulations, you did a great job." And but they're like, also, there's things that you have to work on it when you hit a million. I'm like, why didn't you tell me that before? Because you start leaving people behind. So they're trying to encourage me. And of course, this is part of your evolution. And so that's what I mean by cheering you on. Like, this is actually the next step of where you're going. And they're guiding me because they've gone there before. And here, this is what happens. And if I did not have a mentor that told me that at that particular moment, I would have thought that I'm just abandoning everybody because I was no longer aligned with the type of clients that I was working for because I had elevated so much. So my messaging had changed. And it just was a natural thing because I started saying things differently. So I was speaking to a different level of woman. Now I'm speaking to women who are making higher levels, but I have different levels of programs. But it's just, you'll start to see that. So people who can identify a psychological change in you, but also the performance and how your business is going. He was one of the people that told me to stop doing one on one. And at the time, I really pushed back on it. And he's like, it's going to be a game changer. That's all I do now, group mentoring. And at the time, I couldn't see it, but he was like, this is way you want to scale your business. I did everything they say to do. It was like, he doesn't do this stuff anymore. He's been around for a long time and told us what to read, told us other people to hire that would be helpful. And you want people who have done what you've done. And maybe he was a marketing person. Like for me, what people love hiring me because I used to be an attorney. Like I also was a professional woman. I had a personal shift and I embodied the success that I had and the results brought this. So a lot of women love that because I'm a walking brand. I always say, don't teach people how to relationships if you don't have a good relationship. I'm a product of what I teach. I'm like, here, at least I can say I did it, but I also did it for everybody else. It's just hard for me to hear from somebody if they haven't actually done the work that they teach, but not necessarily everybody has to do that. I think it's the lawyer in me.
The fact checker in you. You're like, I want to know that you've done this.
Basically, then it makes me feel like I can trust you even more. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So you touched on something that you changed, right? You hit this level of success. You're speaking now to different women. I know you as a person have continued to evolve. How did that change your close group of your circle, your friends, maybe some colleagues, people that you've known a long time? Did you find yourself shedding folks around you that no longer were at that level? Tell us about that.
Nonstop. I do believe we attract who we're being. So, like, when I was going through a divorce, I was attracting divorced women, like newly divorced women. I have found that I had lots of friends when I was awakened and before, tons of people in my sphere. But now I'm so selective of the type of people that I hang around with or I mix with because I can't have girlfriends who are not in abundance. So, what does that mean? They can make money, but if they're not a woman who can completely cheer me on and I cheer them on, then they can't be in my life because the moment that somebody still has a scarcity mindset, it's almost like you'll catch it too, or it'll affect your wealth. And because I teach about money and wealth, I'm very protective of who I have in my mindset because I don't even have conversations with people like that are complaining about money or complaining about this. I won't even let it in my sphere because you just don't know how much that negative chatter can affect you. So I like to be with people where money is not an issue with them, with that have grown into that level of understanding of it, that don't mind flying first class, that are into a different lifestyle. I feel like who you surround yourself by is a reflection of what you're going to create in your life. And I like to be around friends who are making $100 million or more that have mastered themselves. It's very important. It's important that they've done the inner work because I've seen a lot of people reach a level of success and they haven't done the inner work. If they haven't done the inner work, whatever that looks like for that person, it's going to be really hard for me to share my space with them. We have like three core wounds: unworthiness, betrayal, and abandonment. And I see it in my clients. I can go look in someone's bank account, like their business account, and see which wound is actually being affected every month. And when I see this with other people, it's hard for me not to identify it because I see, like I said earlier, patterns. And when I know there's something there, it could affect the relationship. So I'm very careful about who I invest in.
That's very well said. I think constantly shedding is something so important, and it's a good reminder for us today. So, tell me about Unlocking the Quantum Woman. Is this your first book that you've published?
It is my first.
Congratulations.
Thanks. It's killing it.
Good, exciting. Okay, give us the sneak peek behind it. Tell us a little bit about it. We want to promote it today.
So this is the book, Unlocking the Quantum Woman. I always thought when I was in my earlier days, I was going to create a book. And so the Quantum Woman, actually, Richard and I came up with that branding and stuff, is the woman who is the wealthiest woman in the room, the woman who is self-mastered, a woman who knows she can have it all. And I believe the quantum field. So the lawyer in me needed science to back what I was doing because it wasn't just I manifested something. I wanted to understand neurologically how we change our mind. How do we stop having a pattern? What the science was behind it and what the quantum field was. So the book teaches you how to really work with your desires. Like I said earlier, people are like goal driven. I teach you how to be desire driven, which is soul driven. A lot of women that I work with are in their masculine and they don't realize that they're even doing it, but it's actually a protective emotion. So I talk about it in the book. I bring you through my process for the last 10 years of really how I got to become a woman who is so mastered. When you're in your victimness and your lack, you are going to be not a powerful woman. And people walk around thinking because they're the loudest or they're the rowdiest or that they can get stuff done, they're powerful. Power is someone who can really be okay with who she is, not wear a mask anymore, and feel free to feel everything and then be unapologetic about what she wants in her life. That to me is a powerful woman. And I teach you how to do that in this book. So even super powerful women are going through this, finding there's another level for them. But this book is life changing. I know a lot of women who are reading it now. You can go read the reviews. I think we have 150 or 49 reviews, positive 5-star reviews on Amazon. It was number one in women in business. And they realized that they are walking around with unresolved emotions that they had no idea was affecting their lives on a daily basis. When you can become so mastered in your emotions, you then become a woman that everybody wants to be around because we can feel you. A lot of women are wearing heavy energy because they've done nothing with it like I did. I was carrying heavy energy until I had this massive breakthrough on that yoga mat. And now they're finding a peace within inside of themselves with this book. They're unlocking the quantum woman within inside of themselves that she can now go and be the greatest version of herself, be too much, be whatever she wants to be without permission. She just can go be the most extraordinary woman. And that's what I want for all women because I'm a woman in abundance. So your strength is not going to threaten me. In fact, it's going to make me feel so amazing that you are a powerful woman. I teach you about money in there too. Like I've mentioned before, I don't know if you've seen some of my podcasts, but or some of my stuff, but I believe money's masculine and I believe the way we receive it's feminine. And I talk about how you can really learn how to be a great receiver of more wealth in your life and everything actually.
It's combined. I mean, you have your master class, you have this new book that's out, and you have your podcast where everyone can find and listen to your episodes.
It's called Unapologetically Rich. I grew to the point where I'm okay with talking about money. And I know it's still taboo for everybody else, but I'm like, no, more women need to feel into what this feels like. And women binge it and they make money from it. So go take a listen.
Unapologetically rich. It's direct and relevant, and why not talk about it and make everyone a little bit more comfortable? So you're setting the example today. So Shamina, what is the mentor moment that you want to leave our audience with today? I know we've talked about a lot. You've shared so many good nuggets, but how can we remember you as we go forward and spread your good word?
I want you to believe that more is coming. I want whatever lack that you believe in, or that you feel like this is gone, or it's not, the money's gone, or this is gone, there's no more other opportunities. I want you to say that to yourself more is coming. When you can believe more is coming, then you won't feel like this is the be all end all right now. You'll have hope and possibility that more is coming. And if more is coming, what does that mean for you? So I want you to just repeat that to yourself. And we have many ways of showing you that. And I would love you to just show yourself that. So you're not limited. And if you want both, if you're trying to choose between one or the other, I want you to just get both. Buy all, have both, because you don't need to decide on one or the other. You get to have it all. And that's really what I want you to really understand. More is coming, you get to have it all. If you can, I want you to really look at where you're limiting yourself and your success, because I know that the ceiling that you've created is self imposed. It's not really true.
Look beyond the ceiling and connect with your emotions. That is such a huge takeaway today. Shamina, where can our audience find you and support you?
We've already talked about the book and Unapologetically Rich podcast, but go check me out on YouTube. We've got tons of videos. It's Shamina Taylor. And then come connect with me on Instagram at Shamina Taylor. And we've got a Quantum Woman group on Facebook. It's called the Quantum Woman Group. We also have an in-person event in Chicago on the 25th and 26th of October. I don't know when this is going to go out, but come join us there. And we do have a free gift for your audience that'll be in the notes for you guys to start getting into your money creation mode that we think will be really helpful for you.
That's fantastic. You're already leaving us with abundance by giving a
I'm a
gift
woman
to
of abundance, so
yeah.
I give and give because I just know that there's so much abundance around us, so there's no limit. There's no limit to it. There's no lack of it.
Your positivity is wonderful, but your authenticity and just everything about our conversation today. Thank you for being a guest.
Thank you, Rani. You're amazing.
Before you go, a huge thank you for being a part of this episode. I hope it left you with a spark of inspiration. And if you haven't already, hit that follow button and subscribe button to stay connected. Now is a great time. Your reviews are the heartbeat of our podcast. So if you enjoyed what you heard today, a review would really mean the world to us. Let's keep this conversation going as well on Instagram at Rainy Alfers. Visit us at rainyalfers.com for all episodes, show notes, and also to express your interest to be a guest. Please sign up. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, I'll see you back on Working Women Mentor.